Okay. Be'ezrat Hashem. We are Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Kavbet. Tov Yanhil Bene Banim. The good is inherited to the grandchildren. Betzafun Latzadik Hel Chote. And the reward of the sinner is kept safe for the tzaddik. So here, the Gaon introduces, Shlomo Melech introduces a very important concept about the reward of mitzvot in this world, which we haven't really touched so much. We touched a little bit, but here the Gaon will explain to us a mechanism on how things work. First of all, he says we have a rule of thumb from Chachamim. Sechar mitzvah behai alma leka. There is no reward paid of mitzvot in this world. On what reward Chachamim talk when they say that? On the principle of the mitzvah itself. So the principle of the mitzvah, of the reward of the mitzvah, right, is only kept le'olam haba. Why? I think it's a very simple way. Because why would you trade something that's infinite and intangible for something that's limited and tangible? Right? You cannot take something spiritual and translate it into something that's physical. That's the principle. Meaning when a person does a mitzvah, there is a reward that's called the principle, a keren, right? That keren is le'olam haba. Aval, Chachamim also tell us, we benefit, we eat from the fruits of the principle in this world, while the principle is kept for the olam haba. So Chachamim introduce another layer of benefits, which is the perot, the fruits of the principle. So Chachamim tell us the principle is kept for olam haba, but apparently there are what is called the fruits of the principle, of the mitzvah, of the action of the mitzvah, which is paid in this world. Says the Gaon, that principle, based on Shlomo Melech, Tov Yanhil Bene Banim, that principle, the tzaddik does not benefit himself. Who benefits from his actions or from the fruit of the principle, of the reward of the principle of his actions? Bene Banim, grandchildren, and Kal Vachomer, children. And that's what the Midrash says in Tanhuma. If the parents, if the avot would eat the fruits, meaning the benefits of their efforts, then there wouldn't be any children. Because they would eat up all their benefits. And now there is no concept of a child which receives from the father, to each their own. It's like an animal, right? Every individual now is responsible and disconnected from his parents and responsible on its own. So the reward, says the Midrash, that the children benefit from, links the children with the parent and creates a continuity and perpetuity in the lineage of a descendants. This is what we call yichus. This is what we call zechut avot. Zechut avot is the system that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put in place so that the efforts that one does will benefit the children and the grandchildren. Good? With this said, the Gaon comes and explains a fundamental question that Moshe Rabbeinu had. How can it be tzaddik veralo, rasha vetovlo? So the tzaddik veralo he doesn't address, but he speaks now here about the rasha vetovlo. He's like, why does the rasha has a good life? He does all the averot, but yet when you see his lifestyle, the guy is living the life. He says because a rasha vetovlo is none other of a rasha ben tzaddik. The rasha vetovlo, the rasha that has a good life, it's because he benefits from the mitzvot or the fruit of the mitzvot of his father or his grandfather. And that's tov. The perot are called tov. Yeah, like the Shlomo Amelech, tov yanhil bnei banim. Right. So the perot of the bnei banim are passed on from the grandfather or the father. And that explains to us why suddenly you have people that rise, and we don't really understand based on their actions why they would have such a bracha. Well, the answer is clear according to the Gaon. It's just because they're collecting the checks, yes, the dividends of the parents and the grandparents and their efforts. Now, says the Gaon, so when does a tzaddik can benefit of anything? You invest, but apparently there is no reward, right? So yes, it's nice to know that your effort and your sweat equity goes to your children and grandchildren, but what about something for the tzaddik? So the Gaon gives one answer in Mishlei, and he has one answer in Yeshaya that complement each other. The Gaon in Mishlei tells us when the tzaddik does chesed, when he does good to the labriot, when he does good to the people around him, so the tzaddik will benefit now from the fruit of his effort. So the fruit of his effort are benefited by the tzaddik when the tzaddik does beyond his tzidkut good to the people around him. He does good, he does chesed around him. So the chesed that is added to the behavior of the tzaddik is a window of opportunity that allows him to now also benefit from the fruits of his efforts. Yes.
So if he's focused only on himself.
I'm sorry?
So if he's focused only on himself, he'll see no benefit. When he
exactly. No, the benefit will go to the children.
He himself won't see any benefit.
Yes.
If he's focused on others.
You open a dimension. Suddenly, now you just created a new dimension in the benefits, right? And it goes from being linear to tridimensional. Good. The second
question.
Yes.
Why you cannot get the spiritual get into material if the other way goes okay? You can do material into spiritual, so why does it go both ways?
The material, no. Wait. The material you elevate to spiritual because that's the tikkun ha'olam, right? That because of the sin of Adam HaRishon, so now we have to fix the chet, the sin of Adam HaRishon, by elevating the material to the spiritual level that it was before the sin. Okay. Now, what we introduce, you cannot, when it comes to reward, okay, how can you take something that's infinite and trade it for something that's finite? The keren, the principle of the reward of your mitzvah is infinite. You will benefit from it forever. So so it cannot be paid in an environment, in a creation that's limited. Just like the neshama cannot the neshama, yes, there's a goof, yes, but it stays fully spiritual. Can you make the neshama physical? You cannot make the neshama physical. The neshama can influence physicality, but the neshama stays spiritual. So the benefit of the reward of your efforts of the mitzvot is also spiritual.
Okay, but so why do the fruits can get spiritual into material, but not the equity?
Oh, because these are fruits. They become secondary. It becomes like a second and third level reward. That the so you want to go into the technical? No, okay. The principle, yes, is called the sachar. The sachar is the reward. It's what you create. You create a light, yes. That light is your reward in olam haba. The shine of the light and how much the light shine or like glows, that is the perot. So the source you cannot translate into physicality, but its emanation you can. Now, and by doing chesed, the tzaddik opens the window to benefit from that shine. The second reason why a tzaddik would benefit from the perot, from the shine of the light, or from from the benefits of the reward, it says the Gaon in Yeshaya in Perek Gimel, he says if you have a lot of tzaddikim, so the concentration is incredible. The concentration of good that is being done is so big, yes, that the light of the perot of that concentration breaks through that barrier that stops the tzaddik from benefiting from his own good. You understand? It's like that light becomes so powerful once you combine all these lights that the opak or the chatzitza of the wall breaks, and now the stream of light gets through, and now the tzaddikim will benefit from the perot of their efforts. And so he says, this is what Shlomo HaMelech says. By the way, and that is also why you want to be zanav la'arayot and not be rosh la'shualim. That's why you want to be at the tail of the lions and not at the head of the fox. Because when you're around tzaddikim, yes, then you benefit from those perot. But if you're the only tzaddik, then you don't. The Gaon is very clear. If he's a lonely tzaddik, well, he will get his reward in olam haba. His children will benefit from that reward, but he's not going to see any reward, any benefit of that of the other reward in this world. So says Shlomo HaMelech, Amru tzaddik ki tov ki peri. That's Yeshaya. That tov yanchil bnei banim, right? The good is passed on to the grandchildren. Atov, which is the perot, right? The fruits are passed on to the children and grandchildren, who are also called fruits, right? So that's the relation. The fruits, the offsprings are the fruits of the person. Now, that's the first part of the pasuk. V'tzafun latzadik hel chote, and the reward of the sinner is kept for the tzaddik. We've in last shiur and Mechila, I didn't upload, I will upload it. The chote, the definition of the chote, which is something we know, is somebody that has the opportunity to do mitzvot aseh and doesn't do it. Purposely that misses out on mitzvot aseh. That's called the chote. So says the Shlomo HaMelech, a big hidush. Not only does the tzaddik will have in olam haba the principle of his mitzvot, but also the principle, the potential principle of the mitzvot that the Choteh was supposed to do and didn't do. And the tzaddik tried to influence him. Now, you have a person, you want him to do kiruv, you try to be mechazekim, right? You have two ways. You could say, look, I mind my own business, and shalom al Israel. Or you say, no, ma pitom, every opportunity to bring a Jew closer, I have to take that chance. I have to take that opportunity. I am an ambassador of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you try, but the person rejected. You can only try, you cannot force. The person rejected. Now, there was a potential for that person to do a mitzvah. He didn't do it. You tried. Yes? You tried. He didn't do it. You will benefit from that potential in Olam Haba. So that potential in Olam Haba of Shimon becomes a reality to you in Olam Haba. And that is a tremendous, okay? That is a tremendous inspiration to all of us to try our best to always do kiruv. And it's irrelevant of whether or not we're successful. This is a proof, yes, that the effort and the motivation and the real kavanah when you try something is what you will find in Olam Haba. Tzafun. Why tzafun? Why is it kept? It's kept because, says Eov, that the Rasha dies before the Tzaddik. Because of his Averot, the lifespan of a Rasha is shorter than the lifespan of a Tzaddik, in general. So now what happens? The Rasha leaves this world, he goes to Olam Haba. Yeah. Now all that potential of the Rasha that was kept for the Tzaddik now has to be put in a data room, in a safe place, in a safe, until the Tzaddik goes to Olam Haba and then benefits from that. That's what Safun means, kept. Good. This is a tremendous yesod in the concept of rewarding, of reward of mitzvot. Can we continue? Any question on this pasuk? Okay.
So just to get it right, if you try to do someone to do teshuvah and you do kiruv, and it didn't work, although you're granted with the potential.
The potential of what the person could have done at that moment become a reality for you in Olam Haba.
Which is huge, because if he does kiruv, it's like for generations. So the potential you get is like...
Nachon. That's exactly
wow.
it. That means that by doing kiruv, not only that you benefit from something that you were not supposed to earn, but your kids benefit from it right away. Excellent.
This is for incredible.
Pasuk Kav Gimel. Rav ochel nir rashim. The tillage, when you do the avodat adama of the poor yields a lot of food. And you have one that disappears, yes, without any mishpat, without any judgment. Here the Gaon introduces another incredible concept. He says like this:
Can you explain the second part of that pasuk again? Can you translate? I don't know.
Nispe is somebody that that disappears, that's swiped away, right? You have someone that's swiped out without a mishpat, without judgment, without a mishpat. We have to. That's literal translation. Now we're going to go into the pirush. Says the Gaon Mivilna, Shlomo HaMelech here screams, everyone must give tzedakah to poor people. How is that? He says, look, a person naturally could think, why the Torah tells me to give tzedakah to poor? Let HaKadosh Baruch Hu take care of the poor. Like, Tronos Pos, that spoke to Rabbi Akiva. Like, why is your God like that? Like, yes, if Hashem wants to take care of those anim, he can take care of them. Why should I take care of them? A person can think this way. Shlomo HaMelech calls the aniyim, the rashim, Rav Ochel. The ani yields a lot of food. Why? Few reasons. Number one, because usually the work of the land is really done by the poor. Who works the actual land? Who, not the rich, the poor. The rich has the employees and he's at home, he's relaxing, managing, collecting, selling over the phone. But who does the hard labor? Is the poor. These are the ones that have no choice. They have to go. So the Rash, the poor, yes, the effort of the poor creates a lot of food. Is the reason that yields physically and practically the produce. That's one reason. And from that pain, from that toil, from that physical suffering, the world benefits. If it was for that physical hard labor, the world wouldn't have what to eat. So Rav Ochel Nir Rashim. Right? The world of the land, the work of the land of the Rashim, the tillage of the land of the poor is what yields food. Therefore, what? Therefore, the only reason you eat and the only reason you have the resources to be successful is because of the hard labor of the poor. Therefore, you need to show Hakarat Tov and make sure that you take care of the poor. Because if it wasn't for the poor, you wouldn't be able to operate the way you want to operate.
Referencing, is that a reference to just the type of labor, the type of work which they do? Like,
not only the type, it's just that usually the only people that do this labor are people that cannot do anything else.
right.
And they're stuck financially. Right. So there is a facet of Hakarat Tov in the tzedakah that you need to have and recognize. And if you don't have it, then you miss out on the responsibility of what tzedakah is about. And this one that disappears, that get punished without judgment, who gets swiped out without a mishpat, meaning without logic behind what's happening. Some people get, you don't understand what happened, and bam, yes, there's a tzara, and nobody understands how this hit the person. Says Shlomo Melech, this is the one that did not give to the ani. And because they didn't do mishpat, because they didn't do the right thing, mishpat is honest, right? Is rules, is regular. Because they didn't follow the rule, so also the punishment comes without a rule. Lo alenu. And who are we talking about? The Gaon says this is talking about the one that had what to give to the ani and decided to use it for something else and not to give it. So essentially, he stole from the ani. So here we have again, yes.
That's where we get the concept of being super diligent.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
In our calculations.
Nachon. Well, the calculation is really for maaser. But yes, it's the same concept. Nachon. The diligence comes from there. Because again, lo alenu Hashem yishmor. When you have what to give, not you, when somebody has what to give, and they choose not to give, and instead do something else, they stole. And they lo chaz v'chalila, they can enter that category of yesh nisveh b'lo mishpat. So from a facet of what is owed and not given, or not having the proper akarat hatov, these two reasons lead lo alenu to catastrophe. Good? Heavy. Good. You can continue. Any question on that pasuk? Pasuk Kavdalet. Chosech shivto, whoever holds back his rod, soneh beno, hates his son. Ve'ohavo, and whoever loves his son, shiharo musar. He gives him musar when he's still beshachar, when he's still very early, when he's very young. Here the Gaon focuses on the word shifto, and he says it's interesting. Choser shevet soneh beno. Why is that choser shifto? His rod. Whoever holds back, who spares his rod, yes, hates his son. Chinuch. You should have said. Shlomo should have said choser shevet soneh beno. Says the Gaon, shifto is not going on. It's not only going on the father, it's also on the shevet on the rod of the son. Meaning, says the Gaon, הרעוי מהראוי להכותו בשבט מוסר. Meaning when you want to, when you enter the chinuch, you need to have, you have an obligation when you want to be mechanech to have the proper response to a situation that needs to be dealt with. You're not allowed to have a dismeasure. You're not allowed to overdo it or underdo it. If you don't react enough or you react too much, it's wrong. That's what shifto means. His rod, meaning you need to use the proper rod for that proper situation, for that proper child, at that proper time. So if you don't have the right response with your son, when he does something wrong and he needs to be addressed, Sone, you hate him. You hate him for two reasons. If you're too weak in your response, you hate him because you don't care. And if you're too strong, that came because of hate, not because of chinuch. That's because if you react too much, it's because that reaction touched your ego, and now your reaction is not coming for the chinuch, it's coming out of an anger, out of a place of hate. Therefore, choser shifto, whoever holds back the proper measure of response is none other than a hater. Ve'ohavo shiharo musar. And whoever loves his son gives him musar from a young age. Says Shlomo, it says the Gaon, not only that you're meyaser oto, not only that you give him musar, yes, not only that you give him musar, but you care b'shaharo, can v'hashkem Avraham baboker, yes, you anticipate. If you love your son, you anticipate the issues that might come, and you address them before they come with a diligent discipline. This is the definition of ahavat, of love for a child. That you're on top of your game and you anticipate, and that you are diligent in your musar, in the discipline that you teach. He brings an example. A woman that wants to put makeup and make herself pretty. First, she cleans her face, yes? But then, if she really wants to be beautiful, she takes a magnifying glass, and then she goes and makes sure that the pores of the skin are clean, right? There's nothing impurity there. There's no, right? She dives in, okay, to make sure that every inch of the skin is beautiful and clean, so that now she can put the makeup on her face and look beautiful. If you love your child, that's exactly the same approach you have to have. Not only should you have to take whatever is dirty and deal with the misbehavior, but dive into it, go into the depth and the root of the behavior. Be proactive, engage, care. Any questions? This is a big yesod also in chinuch. Huh? Here, Gaon introduces the concept of measure. Meaning, the more you are in tune with your son and understand the situation and know how to react, and the more you express love. So you need what? You need to understand your son. You need to understand the situation he's in. You have to be, number 3, in full control of yourself. Assess how to react, how the reaction will be received, and then you can behave, you can react. If you miss out on those steps, then we may fall into the category, the person may fall into the category lo alenu of son'o, of a hater. How many times do we react too lightly because we're insensitive, we don't want to deal with it, or we're tired, or whatever, or too much? Either way is a definition of a soni. שאלות.
Yeah. Can you go back, please, to the beginning of this pasuk when we spoke about, you said that, I think, if you don't have the right response with your child, then it means you hate him. One, and you give, I think, 2 reasons. If you don't care, if you don't respond, it's because you don't care. Or if you don't care, then you don't respond, which means that you hate him. And number 2, it was something about the ego and being offended. And I didn't understand how that plays in. So if I understand correctly, if you're offended and it hits your ego, then what? Then you react. You have the wrong reaction and you're too tough on him, and that means it's hate as well. Did I understand that right?
Again.
Okay, so we spoke about when we hate the child, right? So the first one, we gave 2 reasons. One was because if you don't respond, it means you don't care, which is a form of hate. And number 2 is if you're offended and it hits your ego, I'm assuming because of the behavior of the child, then you overreact.
Correct.
And in that scenario, you're really punishing because you were affected, and not because
נכון.
I guess not because of the
נכון.
chinuch of the child. Right?
נכון.
Yes. And then when it comes to this steps that you just spoke about, there was like 6 or 7 things. It's understanding and knowing. When you say knowing, it means knowing
First, you have to know your
understand.
son. You have to know your son. You have to know the personality of your son. Then you have to understand the situation. Yes. Then you have to be in control of yourself. Then you have to analyze what is the best way to react, and then you react. 5 steps.
So, amazing.
Good.
I need to print this out and put it, carry it with me.
We all do. We're good?
Yes, thank you.
פסוק כ"ה. צדיק אוכל לשובע נפשו. The tzaddik eats at his content, when he's savia, he's full. ובטן רשעים תחסר. But the belly of the reshaim is always empty. He's always missing something. The tzaddik. Okay.
Tu as vu ce que je t'ai envoyé sur WhatsApp?
1 second, Mechila.
Okay.
Tzaddik ochel et sova nafsho. A tzaddik, when he eats because he needs to eat, and because it's a mitzvah to eat. And when he eats usavea, he eats until he feels satisfied. However, the Rasha, they always want the ta'avot, more ta'avot, more ta'avot. They're always empty. Their beten, their belly is always missing something. But also, they want so much, right? That compared to what they can actually benefit from and enjoy, that it's too much. That the ta'avot are humongous, but the ability to make those ta'avot is just limited. So compared to what they want, their beten is their desire is small. Yes. Another pirush, says the Gaon. He says, "Tzaddik be'emunato yihyeh." The tzaddik lives with his emunah. Another major difference between the tzaddik and the rasha. The tzaddik, what does it mean? Lives with his emunah. His emunah is what allows him to live. How is that? Because he has emunah. When he has food, he eats what he needs to eat. He's not going to start making a heshbon. I need to keep for tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I won't have, so I need to make sure I have today, and I have tomorrow, and I have to make sure I have for the no. What he has to do right now, that's what he does. What's going to be next? I have my emunah, and that's what keeps him alive. However, the rasha, he is so self-centered and lacking emunah that he's always scared of the tomorrow. So in his mind, yes, he always puts aside. I need to save, I need to keep. Because of his lack of emunah, his beten, his belly gets tiny because he's always scared. Where the tzaddik, whenever he needs to do, he needs to do. The same thing applies to the Torah. The tzaddik, when he learns Torah, he learns it to satisfy his nefesh, to know it, so that he feels good. But the reshaim, they just want the hit and run. They want the good question. They want the highlight, right? So their beten, their appetite for Torah is very narrow. It's just tiny belly, just enough, right, to show off, but nothing else. There's no sova. There's no satisfaction. Here's Shlomo Melech, based on the Pirush of the Gaon, and when it comes to the Limud Torah, is giving us a parameter of the feeling we need to have when we learn Torah. When we learn Torah, we have to feel satisfied at the end of our learning. It cannot just be a high of a moment, a spike, and that's it. It's soothing, it's reinforcing, it's deep, it's filling. You know it, you master it, you control it, you can go back to it. Not just the spark of the moment. Because if you behave like this, like the Rasha, it's a question of time. You'll have it that moment, and after that it disappears. It also shows us that the tzaddik makes cheshbon, but also understands that he needs to be savea. He needs to take care of his body. He needs to take care of his nefesh in order to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Without making too many cheshbonot about the future. You make cheshbonot, but not to the point. You cannot starve yourself today because you're scared of tomorrow. When you think about it, it opens up a way of life of simcha, of satisfaction and happiness that is really in our hands to take. The reason why we don't enjoy that satisfaction and that happiness is because of the limitation and the fears we impose on ourselves that are present because we lack emunah. Or when it comes to Torah, because we want the highlight versus the real satisfaction of the Torah.
Can you go back on that? Sorry, the right before the Torah part about missing out on the satisfaction.
Well, the reason why Shlomo HaMelech is coming to tell us now that we have access to satisfaction and simcha. Okay? Through what? Through a way of behaving, which is aligned with emunah. And whatever is needed, this is what we do. Obviously, to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And needed, not extra, what's needed. Without too many heshbonot. Now, why do you make heshbonot? Why do you start making all types of calculations? Because we don't have emunah. Because we're scared. And that is what stops us from being satisfied and happy. Those limitations that are born because of the lack of emunah.
And where is the equilibrium?
The equilibrium is nafsho, the avodat Hashem. What do I need to be Oved Hashem? What do I need physically to be healthy enough, strong enough to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You need meat to be strong, you have to eat it. You need carbs to have it. That's what you need, that's what you have. That's what you take. You need a certain portion, and that's what makes you strong. That's what you take. You don't need to take more than that. More than that is something else. That it's a very fine line. Yes? But it's another introspection and evaluation of yourself to recognize, yes, what obligation you have on yourself in order to be the best version to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, you have people that have midat chasidut, and they want to do more, and they're more parush, and they eat less. Yes, as long as it's for avodat Hashem, it's okay. When it becomes because of fear of what's going to be the tomorrow, and start calculating and lacking emunah, that's the problem. So the real the point of reference, what is the equilibrium? Is to ask yourself, be'emet, yes, what I'm doing now, is it am I doing it because of I have emunah in Hashem or not, or for outside reasons? To each their own. There is no white and black. It's not binary. Every person has a different need. You have people that need to sleep, others that don't. You have people that need to eat, others that less. You have people that. Remember what I told you. This is a lesson for life. What Paul Reichman, Rav Moshe Reichman told me. Yes, that he says people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu give money to people that need it. You understand? Because they need it, so they get it. So essentially, it's a handicap, right? There's a need, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels the need. So every person has certain needs to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's Moshe Reichman, and that's it. That's not a guy that being careful when I say what I'm saying. The pshat is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the kavod also to the ones that need it. That's what it is. והעושר והכבוד מלפניך ואתה מושל בכל. Good? בעזרת השם, בסייעתא דשמיא ובמזלי היה. We got to complete on the surface at least פרק י"ג.
We need Hazara on this one. So good.
ברוך השם.